Away from you. I apologize for those weeks of not knowing what's going to happen in terms of funding, because we had trouble getting the bill that we had to pass that had the money in it from some of our very conservative members who were holding it up.
This is my video update on this Saturday, midday, June the 8th. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with a meeting between Professor Biden and Elensky. And during this meeting, the President of the United States apologized to Elensky, the Ukraine citizen who wears a green t-shirt, Elensky. Biden apologized to Elensky. Can't make this stuff up, man. You cannot make this stuff up. Here's what Biden said. I apologize for those weeks of not knowing what's going to happen in terms of funding, Biden told Zelensky as they met in France on Friday. The U.S. president criticized some of our very conservative members of Congress for holding up the bill. We're not going to walk away from you, Biden reassured Elensky. We're still in completely, thoroughly. One second, everybody. 1 second, let me just do a quick search here. 1 second here, let me do a search. Completely with you. I wish I could quit you. I wish I knew how to quit you. Oh, man. So the search that I made was for Savage Garden, Truly, Madly, Completely. You guys know which song I'm talking about? We're still in completely, truly, madly, thoroughly. Oh, man. I wish I knew how to quit you. All right, let's push on. Let's push on. Elensky brought up the 80th anniversary of the Anglo-American landings in Normandy to appeal for the same kind of aid to Kiev. It's very important that in this unity, United States of America, all American people, stay with Ukraine like it was during World War II, Elensky said. How the United States helped to save human lives, to save Europe. And we count on your continuing support in standing with us, shoulder to shoulder. Joe Biden. Joe, I accept your apology. But please, Joe, next time you don't send me money or weapons. Talk to me. Don't shut me out. Don't close the door on this special relationship that we have. Give me a call. Send me text message. Explain to me why you do not send me money or weapons. I just felt like you were lost. I didn't know you anymore. I wait for money. I wait for weapons. I wait 1 month. I wait 3 months. I wait 6 months, and I get nothing. Next time, Joe, let's talk to each other. This is the only way we can make this relationship work.
Important that in this unity, United States, America, all American people stay with Ukraine, like it was during World War II, how the United States helped to save human lives to save Europe, and we count on your continuing support and standing with us, shoulder to shoulder.
You know, on a serious note, all jokes aside, they are making an absolute mockery of the World War II 80th anniversary celebrations. An absolute mockery. Elensky trying to redefine World War II, to revise World War II, like it was the United States and Ukraine that defeated the Mustache Man. Come on now. No mention of Bandera, none of that stuff. It was the United States and Ukraine. We're the ones that won World War II, right? Right. Disgusting, man. Pathetic. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Sad. Sad that they would use the 80th anniversary of Normandy in this way. Anyway, all right. So that was Biden meeting with Elensky, and then Elensky went off to France to speak to the French Parliament, and he gave a speech to a half-full Parliament, from what I understand. Some of the parties, the political parties in France, decided to boycott Elensky's speech. That's what I understand. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but Elensky, he gave a speech to the parliament. He said that there will be no concessions. Ukraine will not negotiate with Russia. There will be no territorial loss. And Zelensky said that Ukraine can and will win. He once again brought up World War II, tried to connect the Mustache Man to Putin, said that one day Ukraine will see fighter planes over Kiev, like France saw fighter planes over Paris or something like that. Anyway, I don't understand what the parallel was, but he said something like that. And what else did Elensky say? Yeah, that was it. And he got this thunderous applause from the half-empty parliament. And Elensky speaking in France to a half-full house. There used to be a time when Elensky was able to sell out the venue. Not anymore. Not anymore. Elensky called Putin illegitimate, by the way. I think he said this when he was in Normandy. He said that Putin is now illegit, which just means that the Russians calling Elensky illegit is getting to him. It's bothering him. From the Kiev Independent, Zelensky hits back at Putin's claims about Ukraine's presidential legitimacy. Putin is elected by Putin. The Russian people are the scenery, and they have only one actor. So much projection, man. My God, so much projection. They have only one actor, says the actor. Says the man who canceled elections. The actor who canceled elections. The actor who's speaking to the French Parliament, because that's all he is at this moment in time. He's just an actor in a green sweatshirt speaking to the Parliament of France. Yeah. I think he spoke a bit in French, didn't he? Did he give all the speech in French? Does Zelensky know French? I don't know. I think he addressed the Parliament in French, or he said some phrases in French. Elensky getting up to speak to the French Parliament. Hola, señores y señoritas. Yo quiero dinero. Then Podolyak pulling on his leg. Mr. President, that's Spanish. Spanish? Where am I? French Parliament, Mr. President. Oh, French Parliament, I see. 1 second, Podolyak. Let me look at my script. Kiri es que kiri. Fellow lefta. Mr. President, that's the Greek parliament script. The Greek parliament script, where, Podolyak? Where French parliament script? Where is French parliament script, Podolyak? So Putin was at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, and he gave a speech at the forum, and then he participated in a panel. It was a very busy day for Putin in St. Petersburg. He spoke for a long time, said a lot of interesting things, something that I don't think Biden could ever do, give a speech and then take part in a panel and answer questions for many hours, for multiple hours. No, I don't think Biden would be able to do that. But Putin was in St. Petersburg fighting all of the ailments that he's been suffering from, the multiple heart attacks and the shaky leg and tennis elbow. and he was very confident. He was very confident. He said that Russia will win. That is what he said. All negotiations are based on either military defeat or military victory. Of course, we will win. He said that Elensky is illegitimate, which is something that Russia needs to continue to do. Hammer away at Elensky's legitimacy, because you can see that it is absolutely bothering him. It is making him freaking crazy. Every time that Putin and the Russian government calls Zelensky illegitimate, it is driving him wacko. It really is making him paranoid. But he said it once again in St. Petersburg. Zelensky is illegit. Too legit. Too legit. Too illegit is what Elensky is. Power in Ukraine has been usurped. That is what Putin said. Oh, man. What else did Putin say? He talked about the Russian economy. I think he said the first quarter of 2024, 5.4% growth in the Russian economy, beating all expectations. He said that. He said that the U.S. is destroying its dollar reserve status. He said the U.S. is doing it to itself. It's doing it to itself by destroying the trust in the dollar and the dollar system. He said that. He said that Russia's still open to negotiate, but he said with who? He said Zelensky's illegitimate. We haven't closed the doors to negotiations, so bring us someone with legitimacy with whom we can negotiate, but we need someone who will negotiate based on the agreements in Minsk and Istanbul, and we need someone who will negotiate based on the realities on the ground. And because Ukraine at the moment doesn't really have a constitutionally recognized president, Putin's like, bring us someone who's legitimate according to the Ukraine constitution so that we can negotiate with that person. He said that Russia has no need to mobilize. He said that Russia mobilized 300,000 soldiers, then it got another 300,000 in volunteers, and it's getting 1,000 volunteers every day. He said that the Russian people, super patriotic, and they understand what's at stake, and there's no need to mobilize at this moment. And Putin also explained the Russian military strategy, the big picture Russian military strategy. He said that the Russian military, the general staff, they absolutely have a plan in this conflict and in winning this war. And he believes in the plan. He believes that the plan will deliver victory. But he said that one of the reasons that Russia has been going step by step, going slow, or why people believe that Russia's been going slow and step by step is because Russia takes into account the lives of the Russian soldiers. And I think he's he's been proven right so far on this method, on this plan. So far, it's been proven correct. It is destroying the Ukraine military. It's demilitarizing the Ukraine military. It's protecting as best as it can the lives of Russian soldiers. It's protecting the Russian economy as well. Russia's standing in the international community. If Russia went very fast and destroyed everything in Ukraine, that might spook some of Russia's friends and allies. If Russia went in very hard, it makes sense to the plan that Russia's been employing. And I think that Putin and the military, they've been proven correct. Anyway, he said a lot of interesting things, the Russian president. And we also had, at the St. Petersburg Forum, we had the finance minister of Russia speak, Mr. Anton Sulianov. And he said that BRICS is moving forward in creating a blockchain type of payment system. BRICS members discussing unified payment system, according to the Russian finance minister. BRICS finance ministers are currently examining the possibility of launching a common blockchain-based system of financial settlements that could be used in place of the Western-dominated financial messaging system SWIFT. Russian finance minister Anton Sulianov said on Friday, providing an alternative payment system is a key goal of the new mechanism, as US dollar settlements currently pose great risks for participants of global trade, Sulianov told Izvestia on the sidelines of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. This is probably the most important news of the day, probably the most important news of the decade, is the fact that BRICS and all of these countries are moving away from the US dollar. They're creating their own payment system, their own settlement system based on the blockchain and a way to bypass SWIFT. Reuters put out an article with the title the other day, Saudi Arabia joins BIS and China-led central bank digital currency project. Saudi Arabia has joined a China-dominated central bank digital currency cross-border trial in what could be another step towards less of the world's oil trade being done in US dollars. That is what Biden is going to go down in history for. That's going to be your legacy, Professor Biden. The president who destroyed the US dollar reserve currency. The petrodollar, the president that destroyed the petrodollar for what? And for what did he do this for? For Elensky, for a comedian in a green t-shirt that plays the piano with his PB. That's what he did this all for Burisma and Ukraine and everything that was, everything shady that was going on in Ukraine since 2014, some say since 2003. That is what he destroyed the entire US dollar system for. And when I mean Biden White House, the Biden team, the neocons around Biden, the deep state establishment around Biden, they destroyed it all for Ukraine. Man, what a dumb thing to do. And I'm being very polite. What a dumb thing to do. Wow. So we had a video statement yesterday from one of the NATO military commanders, strategists, Admiral Rob Bauer. I've talked about him in the past in many videos. And he said, this guy's becoming like Stoltenberg 2.0, Rob Bauer, Ben Hodges 2.0, Admiral Rob Bauer. I believe he's from the Netherlands, this guy. And he said in a video statement, he said that the Russians are everywhere. He said the Russians are everywhere. They're everywhere. They're in cyberspace. Well, first of all, they're in Russia. they're in cyberspace. They're in the Arctic. He said. He said they're in Africa. They're in Asia. They're everywhere, man. There's Russians everywhere. Russians are everywhere. Where are those Russians? Where are those Russians? They're everywhere. It's pretty Russophobic from Admiral Rob Bauer. So in one part of his video message, he says that the Russians are everywhere, right? And NATO has to do everything it can to fight the Russian provocations, because the Russian provocations are everywhere. So NATO needs to fight these provocations. Okay, so that's NATO's big challenge, to fight the Russians who are all over the place. And then this admiral, he goes on to say that Russia is losing in Ukraine. Yeah, he said that the mighty Russian army cannot defeat the much smaller army of Ukraine. And he's basing this on the myth that Russia tried to capture Kharkiv in this latest offensive, and they couldn't capture Kharkiv. Oh, boy. They make up their own narratives. Even though Putin is on record, actually all of the Russian government, the Russian military, the Russian media, even parts of the collective West media, definitely, we've been saying it, it was never Russia's goal to capture Kharkiv. They wanted to build a buffer zone. They wanted to create a buffer zone, and that's what they're doing, to push Ukraine back. That's it. That's simple. Now, maybe they'll want to capture Kharkiv, maybe they won't. They haven't really said anything about Kharkiv capturing it. Oh, actually, Putin said last week that it's not Russia's goal to capture Kharkiv for today. He said this 2 weeks ago. Today, this is not our goal to capture Kharkiv. That is what Putin said. He says what we're doing is building a buffer zone. But they still cling on to their narratives, which is that Russia wanted to capture Kharkiv, and the Ukraine military, with the support of collective West weapons that started to come in, they were able to stop Russia from capturing Kharkiv. Anyway, he said the mighty Russian army is losing to the smaller Ukraine army. So the Russians are everywhere. On the one hand, the Russians are everywhere. They're all over, and we have to try and fight the Russians who are all over the place. So as NATO, we have to fight the Russians who are all over the place. But the Russians that are everywhere are losing to the small Ukraine military. I remember when Blinken and Kirby were saying that the Russian military is the second strongest military in Ukraine, and that the Ukraine military is the mightiest military, and that Russia was fighting Ukraine with shovels and dishwasher chips in tatters. Now it's a mighty military. Now Russia is the mighty military, and Ukraine is the small military. Remember when Elensky a year ago was bragging about how Ukraine's military was 1 million soldiers strong? Remember when he was saying that? 1 million soldiers is what he said. We have 1 million soldiers. 300 billion in weapons, probably more. From 50 countries, 40 countries, 40, 50 countries in the collective West have given Ukraine, 300 billion in weapons, 500 billion in weapons, and built up the army over 10 years. But now they're just a small military fighting the mighty Russians. Anyway, Ben Hodges 2.0, Admiral Bauer. Here's an article from Bloomberg. Putin is running out of time to achieve breakthrough in Ukraine. Russia made limited progress with Ukraine, short on weapons. Ukraine halts Russian attack as billions in arms start flowing. That's the new narrative, everybody. That's another narrative. It's not even a new narrative. That's another narrative that they're going to start spinning out. Russia couldn't capture Kharkiv. Thank God for the weapons that started to come in, the weapons that were stalled for 6 months. And they just started to come in, and it was the mighty NATO weapons that managed to stop Russia's conquest of Kharkiv, of the city of Kharkiv. You see how awesome the NATO weapons are? I've made the case, and I think I was proven right, that the weapons were never stalled. There was no such thing as a 6-month delay. Never happened. We know that the weapons were flowing, including the TACMs, from February all the way to May. But they're going to go with this narrative now. The NATO weapons, they arrived in Ukraine just in the nick of time to stop the Russians from capturing all of Kharkiv. So Macron, oh boy, we have to still cover flip-flopper, strategic ambiguity. Macron, he said yesterday that he's finalizing a plan to create a coalition of military trainers to go to Ukraine. Sending military instructors to their certain annihilation. Well done, Macron. A coalition is what he's creating. The Baltic states and Poland, maybe Romania. Maybe he'll convince Romania to join him. That's going to be his coalition. A coalition of coalition of just of the crazy, man. Sending their own military to their certain annihilation so that they can try to rope in the US and escalate further. Anyway, that was Macron's statement that he made the other day. And let's do some clown worlds, and we'll wrap this video up. So look at this statement from the Victoria Nuland Institute for the Study of War. Ukraine field commanders are reportedly compensating for training difficulties that mobilization has exacerbated by training new personnel on the front line. Ukraine field commanders' decisions to train newly deployed personnel on the front before committing them to combat indicates that the overall quality of Ukrainian forces will likely remain higher than that of Russian forces in the near to midterm. What? Am I reading this correctly? Is the Institute for the Study of War saying that by training the new military personnel, by deploying them to the front and training them, and I say training them on the front lines, that's going to mean they're better than the new Russian soldiers? Their quality is going to be better? Is that what the Institute of the Study of War is saying here? I don't know if I'm reading that correctly, but that's what it looks like. Jeez, these guys are psychos, man. Absolute psychos. Ukraine field commanders' decision to train newly deployed personnel on the front before committing them to combat indicates that the overall quality of Ukrainian forces will likely remain higher than that of Russian forces in the near to midterm. By sending them to the front and training them on the front lines before committing them to fight, I guess is what they're saying, committing them to combat will mean that their quality is better than the Russians. Yeah, I don't think it works like that, Institute for the Study of War. I don't think it works like that. And what else? Let's go for a little bit of a walk. Let me show you where I am. I found a really good spot here in Athens by the Byzantine Museum. One sec. By the Byzantine Museum in the center of Athens, next to the War Museum is where this is located. They have a good little spot right here. And let me walk this way. They have some nice places to sit. They have a nice cafe right here. The ticket to enter is €4, by the way. So that's inside there is the museum. Back up there is the War Museum. It's an outdoor cafe. And yeah, it's a good spot. It's a nice spot. So, what else? Cameron looks like he's been pranked by Vovan and Lexus. Lord Cameron has been pranked. The UK media is talking about it. They're preparing the population of the UK for a Vovan and Lexus prank call video. That's how it looks. They haven't said Vovan and Lexus. They haven't specified anything just yet. But they're saying that Lord Cameron thought he was speaking to none other than Petro Poroshenko. How many times do I have to say it, you guys? Listen to me, globalist elite of the collective West. Listen to me. I know that one of you somewhere is listening to this video, a staffer of one of these globalist elite leaders. Listen to me. If you get a phone call from Petro Poroshenko, or if you get a phone call from the president of the African Union or whatever, if you get a phone call from one of these guys, it's not these guys. Okay? It's Vovan and Lexus. You got it? Oh, man. Oh, boy. They fall for it every single time. Every time. So let's do one more clown world and we'll wrap this video up. I think I'm doing pretty good on time here. Strange sculpture. So let me grab my phone here because I want to read you a title from Politico. EU's top diplomat race gets very crowded. Josep Borrell is on his way out. Who will be the EU's next counterpart for the likes of Anthony Blinken, Lavrov, and Wang Yi? The EU is afraid of the replacement of Borrell by Kaja Kallas. Quote, I see the logic of giving an Eastern European the highest position, but we need someone who also talks about Africa or South America and not just about Russia, Politico said. So in this article, Politico talks about the replacements of Jungle Joseph, and it looks like Kaja Kallas is the front runner to replace Jungle Joseph. But they're worried that Kallas is too obsessed with Russia. They need someone who can talk about other things and not just Russia all the time. Kaja Kallas. I think what the EU should aim for in a diplomat is someone who's a diplomat. Here's an idea. Why don't you make your chief diplomat someone who is actually a diplomat instead of going with Kallas, who's nothing even close to a diplomat. All she speaks about is Russia, they say. They're concerned because all she can talk about is Russia. That's all she knows how to talk about, man. Oh, man. Just hire a diplomat. Just please hire a diplomat. Europe, EU. The other person that's in the running is Sikorsky. Oh, man. Poland's foreign minister, they say, is also in the running. Can you imagine that? Sikorsky as foreign minister of the European Union. Thank you, USA, Radoslav Sikorsky. Talk about someone who only thinks about Russia. Sikorsky, that's all he knows how to talk about is Russia. Amazing, huh? You You tweet out that it was the USA that blew up Nord Stream, like hours after Nord Stream was blown up. You post on Twitter X, "Thank you, USA." And you get promoted. You become the foreign minister of Poland, and now you may actually become the foreign minister of the entire European Union. Name me any job, any business where that happens. Unbelievable. Oh man. All right, everybody. I think I'm going to end the video there. The Duran.locals.com. Scary. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Rockfin, Twitter, Twitter X, and what else? Did I say locals? Yes, I said locals. We're on all kinds of platforms and Telegram. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some cool merch. Football 24 to get football jerseys. Go to Reverse Gear shop, pick up some Reverse Gear merch. Take care.